Podium, please. You are recognized, Senator, on 401. You're our first victim of the year. Well, our first friend.
Hopefully victim is not the right word, but we'll see.
Senate Bill 401. I'll move the bill. Do we have a second? Second. It's moved and seconded. You are on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 401 is a bill to protect Tennessee children from bureaucratic inefficiency by preventing them from being thrown off of their TennCare coverage by minor paperwork mistakes. What we do know, out of all the Medicaid disenrollment, about nearly 70% have been for paperwork reasons, including 80% of Tennesseans. Estimates suggest that the vast majority of these disenrollments among children specifically are among children who are eligible. And so what we want to do is to ensure that there is no coverage gap, especially for children experiencing chronic health issues because of paperwork issues. That's a brief explanation of my bill, and open to any questions.
Thank you. We have no amendments. The bill will go to finance. We do have an amendment.
Yes. It changed the date, the effective date.
Okay, it just changes the effective date. That's all it does. It's number 12068. I will move the amendment. Do I have a second on the amendment? It's seconded. It changes the date. Let's see.
July 1st, 2027.
From 26 to 27, July. Yep. That's what it does. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment passes. We are on the bill. Do we have testimony? Does TennCare, anyone else want to testify on the bill? Seeing none. Yes, discussion.
I have a question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Harshbarger.
I had three different points just kind of going through the bill, and I just want to get clarification. So one of the potential concerns was, the cost growth, the idea of an entitlement expansion. So this was my interpretation, so tell me if I'm wrong. So because this only applies to children already enrolled, no expansion of eligibility exists. Is that correct?
Yes, it is it's only for children who are eligible for Medicaid first and foremost. But there is also a re-verification process that happens very so often to ensure that your parents is still in the income criteria, you meet all the criteria that the state lays out to be eligible for Medicaid. A lot of times people either don't get the letter, they make a mistake on the application, they're not actually ineligible, but there's a paperwork issue. And so a lot of times kids are losing coverage because of like paperwork issues. What we're trying to basically do is that if you stay covered in the process of re-verification so you won't lose coverage, so that we can make sure that the kids stay insured. And we are putting a burden of responsibility on the parents to make sure that if you are no longer eligible for Medicaid, then you're not asking for these benefits anymore and you take yourself off. Or if you find out any information that makes them no longer eligible, then they are taken off. So it's basically just to close the coverage gap for paperwork issues. But these folks are already eligible, so this doesn't apply to anybody who's not actually eligible to have Medicaid.
Okay.
I do want to be honest and say that the fiscal note does change before, as you're hearing this. The federal government CMS sent a letter saying that they are no longer sending federal funds down to cover kids, so we'll be all on the state to make sure that we pay for the coverage gap for these children. The federal government is no longer providing coverage for children falling into these gaps of coverage. So I do want to be honest about that. I did speak with TennCare about it will be on us instead of the federal match. It will be all on us as Tennesseans.
All right, Senator Watson.
Yeah, well, that's not what the fiscal note says. The fiscal note, I have two questions. The first is, does changing the date affect the calculation on the fiscal note, whether that expands the amount of time? Does that change the fiscal note? And the second is that the fiscal note, I'm not sure about the testimony here, but it assumes that, it will cost the federal government $9.95 million and the state $5.5 million. I'm assuming if the testimony is accurate, then it would cost the state, what is that, about $15 million.
That is correct, Chairman Watson. That is why the fiscal note that you see is the one from last year, because this bill is carrying over from last year. And that is why I put it on the front end that recently CMS sent the letter down to TennCare saying that the federal government will no longer cover their part of it, which is why I said it will be on the state. So yes, that fiscal note from last year is inaccurate. The correct fiscal note is $15 million.
Senator Watson.
Well, I guess I need to have some clarity on what that CMS ruling was. That doesn't. I'm confused on that. I'll yield.
Well, I think TennCare does want to speak, but Senator Yarborough first, and then give TennCare will approach.
No, I just wanted to say, like, it is early in the year. I would like to see, like, if the fiscal note needs to be revised, we should get a revised fiscal note. I want to make sure that we're capturing that correctly.
Right. Does TennCare? Yes. You're recognized. Let us know who you are and who you represent, please.
Ashley Reed, Division of TennCare.
T.C. Becker, Legislative Liaison for TennCare. So back in July, TennCare received a notification from CMS of a change in policy regarding continuous eligibility initiatives. In the letter, it states, after reviewing these approvals, CMS has concerns about the appropriateness of providing continuous eligibility for additional populations and for longer durations of time than are required or available under the Medicaid and CHIP state plans, which could affect fiscal and program integrity. As such, CMS does not anticipate approving new state proposals of Section 1115 Demonstration Expenditure Authority that allow for expanded continuous eligibility or extending existing Section 1115 Demonstration Authority for expanded continuous eligibility beyond what is required or available under the Medicaid or CHIP statutes. As a result of this change in policy, we have to assume that the state of Tennessee would bear the full cost of this proposed program.
Questions? Senator Massey.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And I guess, I mean, I understand the federal government making that determination. I guess what I'd like to delve into just a little bit more is how many, and do you all have any data on the number of kids that are really still eligible, so they really still are our TennCare's responsibility if they're eligible, but how many, because of one reason or another, don't get their paperwork back in on time, because technically that shouldn't be an additional expense because they're still eligible. But I get the conundrum of trying to figure this out, but I don't like that kids are being disenrolled that really are still eligible. So what can we do about that to kind of make that less often, and how often is it?
Thank you, Senator Massey. We don't have that data on hand. You may recall, though, through Strong Families and then also as a federal requirement, TennCare currently does do 1 year of continuous eligibility for children. And then, of course, this bill would prevent us from going through that re-verification process. But we don't have any data with us to respond to that.
Thank you. So in this 1 year of continuous eligibility, are we still working at the beginning of that year to get their information to make sure they're still current in their eligibility, or do we wait till the end of the year?
We can take that back and get a response to that, but this is also too for that continuous eligibility, regardless of a change in circumstances.
Okay.
It would be regardless of an income change.
Yeah, I just think it's imperative that we improve where we can improve that, and if there is the 1 year of continuous eligibility, that we're actively working to get the answers. Multiple times, it's kind of like in transportation where they're getting checking the eligibility of our CDL drivers right now. They're going to be reaching out to them multiple times. So I guess I just want to know a little bit more about it because, you know, these kids should be eligible if they are, and what the integrity of that is. Thank you.
So, Senator Yarborough, I was going to say, do we want to roll this so we can get that information? That sounds good. Let's do two. Yes, you're recognized.
I just want to follow up on that because I did look up the census sort of does track this, and less than a decade ago, we were down at the number of uninsured children was like was less, around 3%. And it's effectively doubled since then. Like we were ranked 22nd in the country in terms of having kids covered. We're now down in around the 40s. And so like there does seem to be something that is unique to TennCare that has led to a significant increase in uninsured children. And I want us to drill down on that and understand what. And if this isn't the right way to do it, I get that, but I do want to figure out if there are eligible children who are going uninsured. I think that is the sort of moral commitment we made in this policy, and we should try to stick to it.
Yeah, this is an issue that both sides of the aisle feel comfortable trying to fix. So let's roll this. What do you think? 2 weeks? Let's do 2 weeks.
Absolutely, Chairman.
All right, thanks. Senator Watson is recognized.